Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session that is brought to you by Ipmat by LPT. And guys, we are running this IIM Bangalore BSc Last Mile Mastery series for your preparation. And I believe that you have been following these videos that we put on, and it is helping you to streamline your preparation with respect to the examination. So what we are going to deal with today is we are going to deal with English comprehension. We will be practicing some good level of grammar questions, because grammar is again something that finds its importance in most of these examination, which is an entrance examination. So we are trying to look into the English comprehension part and the kinds of question that is most expected in the examination. Let us practice some questions and try to understand how do we go about answering the question. So let us not waste any more time. Let us quickly get started. So we have some good practice questions here, and through these practice questions we will do a revision in terms of what are the grammatical rules that you should be very clear with. Also understand, students, as far as grammar is concerned, see, there are times when you know that what particular rule is being applied in a particular question, so that becomes easy for you to answer. And sometimes the grammar questions are usage based, so वहाँ पे कोई रूल अप्लाई नहीं हो रहा होता. इट इज जस्ट दैट द वे इंग्लिश इज स्पोकन ऑन रेगुलर बेसिस, on the basis of your reading skills and on the basis of your comprehension skills, you try to answer those questions. I hope I am clearly audible and visible to all of you. So let us get started. Right. So we have a set of questions, and I would want you people to solve it along with me, so that we know how to answer these questions, and we could also do a revision in terms of what are the important rules that we are dealing with respect to IIM Bangalore BSc program. Let's look at the first question. So it says, read each sentence and identify the part that contains an error. If the sentence is corrected as it is, mark no error as your answer. So guys, one thing that should be very careful about is that in your options, if you have one of the choices as no error, so keep that possibility alive, because most of the time when students are solving error question, they tend to find error with every sentence, which might not be true, because you still have some questions here where the answer is no error. So it's not necessary that if you are solving a spotting the error question, every sentence would necessarily have an error. Sometimes the answer could be no error as well. So you have the first question here. It says, Yash Chopra, which helped iconic films, breathe his last on October 21, 2012. So this is the question here. Let me know if you do have any answers. Otherwise, I will of course be telling you what is the rule that we are applying here. So when you do these questions, make sure that you are making a quick note in terms of the rules that we have discussed. Some of these questions will be answered on the basis of usage only. So there is no rule as such, no thumb rule as such. It is just that this is the way the language is spoken. So when you look at this question, it says, Yash Chopra, which helmed iconic films, breathed his last October 21, 2012. Now understand something here. Look at this word, which is which. And I'm sure for those of you who are studying for your Ipmat preparation, or for any other examination you are targeting, because no matter what exam you target, whether it is a BBA entrance examination or any other entrance examination for that matter, the grammar rules do not change. So the rules remain the same. It is just that the pattern of asking the question changes a little bit. So if you look at this question here, the error is in part B. Why it is B? Because here you have used here which. Now basically or essentially we say that which is a term that is specifically used for non-living things. Okay? So as compared to the fact that it is referring to a person, for person we make use of one more, which is known as who. ठीक है. और अगर आप ग्रामर क्लासेस ले रहे हैं, अगर आप ग्रामर के रूल्स को रिवाइज कर रहे हैं, आपने वो होमवर्क कर रखा है, आई एम श्योर यू विल अंडरस्टैंड कि इस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन में जो एरर है दैट इज विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू द यूसेज ऑफ विच. दिस विच should be substituted by who, which is used for person. So the sentence refers to Yash Chopra, and you cannot simply make use of which as a pronoun here. So it should be substituted by who. That is the answer that we are looking for. I hope the rule is clear. Guys, understand when you did pronouns, हमने एक rule पढ़ा था जो आपको थोड़ा सा याद होना चाहिए. The difference between who, whom and whose. तो who जो वर्ड है वो हम सब्जेक्ट्स के लिए यूज करते हैं, तो यहाँ पे जो हमारा सब्जेक्ट है दैट इज यश चोपड़ा एंड दैट इज व्हाई वी आर मेकिंग यूज ऑफ whom. अगर यहाँ पे ऑब्जेक्ट की बात हो रही होती तो हम whom यूज कर रहे होते, और अगर हम पोजेशन की बात कर रहे होते देन वी वुड हैव यूज WHOSE. तो ये जो बेसिक फंडामेंटल कॉन्सेप्ट है रिगार्डिंग who, whom and whose, this should be something should be clear to you. Let's move on to the second question. It says, he is not a headstrong person as some say, but he finds a lot of joy in giving. Now, most of the times I tell students that some of your grammar questions are also done on the basis of your reading skills. So, you might not be able to pinpoint the rule exactly, but it's just that when you read the sentence and pronounce it in your head, you get a clarity in terms of what could be the replacement that would render your sentence as the correct statement. So if you read out this one, he is not a headstrong person as some say, but he finds a lot of joy in this. Give should be substituted by giving. So he finds a lot of joy in giving. That's the question that we were looking for. So first two questions done. Let's look at the third question. I am of the old school of thought and believe that your work should speak for themselves. We have done pronouns and I'm sure कि pronouns के जो important rules होते हैं वो आपने revise कर रखे हैं, and you also are practicing on the basis of how do those rules apply in the sentences. Now look at this particular third sentence. It says, I am of the old school of thought and believe that your work should speak for themselves. Now if you look at this word which is work, now this is singular, and because it is singular, it is a noun which is singular, so the pronoun that you are using for it has to be singular too. Now if you look at this sentence here, it says themselves. Now this is problematic. तो वर्क के लिए आप themselves use नहीं कर सकते because generally them is used for persons and here we are referring for work, and because work is treated as singular you have to make use of singular, so instead of saying themselves it should be itself. Fine. So the sentence should read like, I am of the old school of thought and believe that your work should speak for itself is the answer that we are looking for. So this is the correction that you need to make with respect to the pronouns and you are good to go. Let's look at question number 4 now. Although expecting that you may have some answers in your head, it's just that you need to figure out whether the line of thought that you are using with respect to solving a particular question matches with the accurate answer here. So here it says only third of the apps on my phone are really useful. Can you figure it out what exactly is the error here? For those of you who are working on your vocabulary skills and making it sure that you have practiced as many questions as possible, this question would not be too much of a problem. So it says only third of the apps. This should be only a third of the apps on my phone are really useful. So you need an article here to make the sentence grammatically correct. So instead of saying only third of the apps, you say only a third of the apps on my phone are really useful, making it as a correct sentence. Try doing 5 and 6 and 7. Just have an answer in your head. Let me know if you do have any answer on the basis of these questions and we can try to answer those questions also. Now let's look at this question here, which is Sanborn had designed the project before the Berlin Wall has fallen. So look at this sentence and try to come up with an answer. Now see, if you are clear with the fundamentals, if you are clear with the basics, now this is a question of tenses, and tenses is one area where students struggle a lot, okay? But I have a belief that if you are somebody who has done the homework, if you are somebody who knows the basics of tenses and you also apply in terms of how it is used in the sentences per se, then this question should not be very difficult for you. Now if you look at this sentence, it says Sanborn had designed the project before the Berlin Wall has fallen. So when you look at this construction here, here you have had designed, which is past perfect tense, and here you have has fallen, which is present perfect tense. So you need to make a switch in terms of you either make entire sentence the present perfect or you make it past perfect. Now what happens here is that the rule that is being used here is that there are two actions happening in the past. So the action which happens first takes past perfect, and the option and the action that happens late takes simple past. So आपको जो combination यहाँ पे use करना है previous वाले action के लिए you will take past perfect, और जो later वाला action है उसके लिए you will take simple past. So you say Sanborn had designed the project before the Berlin Wall. Instead of has fallen, which is present perfect, this should be substituted by simple past, and this should be before Berlin Wall fell. Okay, so the rule that we are applying here, the concept that we are using here is that when you talk about two actions in the past, the action that precedes takes past perfect and the action that follows takes simple past. So something that precedes is past perfect, something that follows is simple past. So instead of saying has fallen, you use the term which is simple past, which is fell. That is how you correct the sentence. That's your fifth question. Let's go to the sixth one now. A herd of wild elephants along with its newborns have destroyed many paddy fields besides killing one farmer in the latest episodes of man-animal encounters. Now if you look at this question, now this is a question of subject-verb agreement. And when I told you, see, most of the time when you have these grammar questions across examination, subject verb agreement is one of the most important topics that you can come across and deal with the questions in your paper. So now this is a question here. So it says a herd of wild elephants along with its newborns have. Now you need to understand, we have used here along with, right? And when you join two subjects with along with, the verb agrees with the first one. So the first one is herd of wild elephants. Now this word herd refers to the group of elephants, and because it refers to the group of elephants, it is a collective noun, and by default we make use of a singular when we are dealing with collective nouns. So instead of saying have, this should be changed into has. So you say a herd of wild elephants along with its newborns has destroyed many paddy fields besides killing one farmer in the latest episodes of man-animal encounters. So that makes your question correct here, a simple question of subject-verb agreement. Try doing seventh question. It says China is not as concerned about terrorism in the region, so India is. Again, a question of grammar. Just try to answer this question if you can. Right. So it says what? China is not as as concerned about terrorism in the region. Instead of so, you have to again make use of as India is. So this is the kind of construction. So when you are comparing, you make the comparison by making use of as. So she is as beautiful as Aishwarya Rai. You don't say she is as beautiful, so Aishwarya Rai. So when you are making a comparison, it is as construction that we use, and the same rule is being applied here. You say China is not as concerned about terrorism in the region as India is. Alright, so I hope you follow these questions and you also follow the rules that we have discussed. So sometimes it is the application of direct rule in the question. Sometimes the questions test your reading skills and your language instinct. तो कुछ चीजें तो आप rules के through sort out कर सकते हो. You can answer the questions by applying the rules. At some other times you may have a question जहाँ पे आपकी reading skills का जो set है या जो आपका language instinct है वो use हो रहा होता है in terms of figuring out whether there is an error in the statement. So let's move to the next set of questions. Yeah. So you have 8 to 15 here. Try doing the first 5 questions, that is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we will have a discussion on this. 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Try to come up with an answer if you have any. Just have an answer in your head and then we discuss. We look at what exactly is the right answer for this question. Now, let's look at this. Eighth one is again a simple question that is based on the concept of subject verb agreement. So, you say peaceful elections is a necessary part of the resolution of the issue in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, for those of you who have done the homework with respect to subject verb agreement topic, we took so many sessions there where we're discussing subject verb agreement and the rules that is used here. Now, if you know that, you will understand here the subject of the sentence is elections, and because elections is plural, you have to make use of a plural verb. So instead of saying is, you should be making use of are. So you say peaceful elections are a necessary part of the resolution of the issue in Jammu and Kashmir. Correct. So I hope it is clear to you. So peaceful elections, elections is plural, so it will be substituted by plural verb that is known as are here, and that is how you correct the statement. Let's go to ninth one. It says INS Vikrant is India's first aircraft carrier and was commissioned into the Air Force in 1961. So if you can answer this question based upon your knowledge of grammar. Right. So some of you would automatically have an answer here. Look at this. The form INDIAS is problematic. So we are saying INS Vikrant is India's first aircraft carrier. So you have to use here an apostrophe S. So instead of saying INDIAS, which is grammatically wrong, you should be saying INDIA and it should be ended with apostrophe S to show that this belongs to India. So INS Vikrant is India's first aircraft carrier and was commissioned into the Air Force in 1961. Alright, so that is again something that we have covered. Let's look at the 10th question. He requested the court not to reveal the names of the players, yet the probe was completed. So look for a hint that you can absolutely have in the question and try to answer these questions. Okay, so for those of you who are solving it along with me, let's look at this one. It says, he requested the court not to reveal the names of the players, yet the probe was completed. So as far as these sentences are concerned, this is absolutely fine, but look at the conjunction that is yet here. Okay, so this is little bit problematic. So instead of using yet, what can you substitute it which makes the sentence correct? You simply say, he requested the court not to reveal the names of the players until the probe was completed. So instead of saying yet, you simply substitute it with the conjunction that is until to make the sentence grammatically correct. So until the probe was completed. This is how you correct the sentence. Chalo. Next question is the 11th question. It says, the elephants of Africa are wilder than that of India. Easy question. If you have done the fundamentals, if you have done the basics, I'm sure you should be able to answer this question. So elephants of Africa are wilder than that of India. How do you substitute it? So how do you make it correct? Try figuring it out. Okay, now we are comparing elephants of Africa with elephants of India, right? And elephants is plural. I'm sure this is the basic understanding that we have to develop in terms of solving the grammar question. So the subject of the sentence is elephants. Elephants of Africa is being compared to elephants of Africa. So you say, sorry, elephants of India. So it says the elephants of Africa are wilder than. Instead of that, because we have said elephants, which is plural, instead of that, this should be those of India. So this is how you correct the sentence and you say the elephants of Africa are wilder than those of India. So instead of that, this should be substituted by those. Let's move to the next question. It says, at Christmas, each year, friends greet each other with gifts. At Christmas, each year, friends greet each other with gifts. Now, if I can see it this way, I think there are two errors in the sentence. If you can figure out which two errors. So, one is very obvious, one is not. That one which is not very obvious, that is something you should be able to figure out. So, try doing this question. It says, at Christmas, each year, friends greet each other with gifts. Look at this. First of all, the correct kind of preposition that you should be using here is on Christmas. Each year, friends greet each other. Now, see, you have talked about friends here, and for those of you who have done your homework with respect to pronouns, you would know that there is difference between each other versus one another. ठीक है, तो each other को हम कैसे use करते हैं, one another को हम कैसे use करते हैं? We simply say that if you go by the standard rules, each other is used for two people, things or ideas, and one another is used for more than two. तो यहाँ पे क्योंकि हम बात कर रहे हैं फ्रेंड्स के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में, सो इंस्टेड ऑफ ईच अदर दिस शुड बी सब्स्टिट्यूटेड बाय वन अनदर. So you say, on Christmas each year friends greet one another with gifts. So this is how you correct the sentence if you are somebody who knows the rules of correct pronoun placement questions. So instead of each other, it is one another. So these are the pronouns which are known as reciprocal pronouns. So you say each other is used for two people, places or things, and one another is used for more than two people, places or things. So that makes question number 12 correct. Let's move on to the 13th one. It says vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin that exists in two forms. Just identify the subject of the sentence and try to come up with an answer. Vitamin D is the subject of the sentence and this is singular. So you say vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin that exists. Okay, so vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin that exists. So because you say vitamin D is the subject of the sentence and vitamin D is singular, so you have to make use of a singular verb and that should be exists instead of exist. So that's the correction that we are making. Alright, let's go to the next question. All of we have to come to the office on flag hoisting day as a small function has been organized by the HR department. So you don't say all of we. Instead of we use the pronoun which is all of us. You don't say all of we, okay? It is all of us have to come to the office on flag hoisting day as a small function has been organized by the HR department, making this sentence as correct. And then you have the 15th question. It says, my older sister, who is a qualified medical practitioner, is leaving for the US next month. Okay, let's look at this one. My older sister. So see, there's a difference in terms of older and elder. So where do we make use of elder and where do we make use of older? The difference is that if you are referring to somebody within the family, you make use of elder. When you are referring to somebody outside the family, then you make use of older. So here, because we are referring to within the family, instead of saying older sister, this should be substituted by elder sister. So you say, my elder sister, who is a qualified medical practitioner, is leaving for the US next month. So that is how you correct this sentence and this is how you correct the answer choices. So just remember difference between older and elder. With respect to within the family, you make use of elder. When you're referring to outside the family, you make use of older. So again, an important classification in terms of where do we make use of elder and where do we make use of older. That was the 15th question. Let's move forward. Right, so you have 16 to 23 here. We have 25 questions in total and some other questions as well. Let's try to figure this out. So it says the book is a rational, open minded inquiry in surrogacy laws, or rather the lack of them in a country, India. Let me know if you do have any answers. All right. The book is a rational, open minded inquiry. This preposition is wrong. It should be into. Okay. The kind of preposition that has to be used here is into as opposed to in. So you say the book is a rational, open minded inquiry into surrogacy laws, or rather the lack of them in a country, India. All right, so I'm hoping that you have understood how do we have placed this particular question with respect to preposition use. So that is the correction that we need to make. 17 says Malti's children are laid down with a cold as got drenched in the rain last night. Try doing this. Right. So if you look at this question, how do you correct this one? You say Malti's children are laid down with a cold as they got drenched in the rain last night. So the word they or the pronoun they is missing from the sentence, and you simply add it to the sentence and say Malti's children are laid down with a cold as they got drenched in the rain last night. So sometimes if you omit the use of pronouns, even that is considered as an error. तो जहाँ पे सब्जेक्ट है वहाँ पे आप प्रोनाउन यूज करते हो, जहाँ पे ऑब्जेक्ट है वहाँ पे आप प्रोनाउन यूज करते हो, and this is how you are supposed to answer the grammar question. So wherever the need arises, there is where you have to make changes to answer the questions correctly. Okay, so 17th and 16th is done. Let's look at 18th one. It says at the time of independence, the population of Delhi and its areas adjoining was approximately 16.8 million. At the time of independence, the population of Delhi and its areas adjoining was approximately 16.8 million. Okay, so the correction, at the time of independence, the population of Delhi and its, you don't say its areas adjoining, you say its adjoining areas, and its adjoining areas was approximately 16.8 million. So the placement of the word adjoining was incorrect here. It should come before areas, functioning as an adjective. So you say at the time of independence, the population of Delhi and its adjoining areas was approximately 16.8 million, making this answer as the correct one. That brings us to the 19th question. It says an advanced and malicious software has been uncovered that since 2008 was used to spy on private companies, governments and individuals. So if you are somebody who does have a good knowledge of tenses, this is the question that we are looking at, because this is something that is based on the concept of tenses and its uses. So if you can figure it out, how do we answer this question? It says an advanced and malicious software has been uncovered. So this is present perfect tense, has been uncovered, that since 2008 has been used, has been used to spy on private companies, governments and individuals. So for those of you who do have a clarity in terms of the usage of tenses, how it is used in the sentences, this question was not something that was too difficult to answer. So if you know the concept and you apply the concept in the question, it gets you to the right answer. So we are done with the 19th question. Let's look at 20. It says questions will be raised about how 1 million could have been better utilized elsewhere. Now, questions will be raised about how 1 million could have been better utilized elsewhere. There is nothing wrong with the sentence. The answer would be simply no error. That is option number 5. So, questions will be raised about how 1 million could have been better utilized elsewhere. Nothing wrong with the sentence, and that makes the sentence which is no error as the answer. Let's look at 21. Conventional psychiatric treatment is conducted at a much leisure and detailed pace. Now, this is the question that checks your implication of adjectives in the sentence. And for those of you who have worked on your grammatical concept, you studied adjectives, I'm sure you will be able to answer this question. So, adjectives, adverbs, they also form an important part of your grammar preparation. So, just make it sure that you're practicing questions, and if you come across anything that is new, you have to learn and sink it down your memory lane. So, conventional psychiatric treatment is conducted at a much leisurely and detailed pace. Leisurely, you require an adverb here, leisurely and detailed pace, and that is how you correct this statement, and that is how you answer this question in the correct manner. It should be leisurely and detailed pace. Next question, question number 22. Alienation may be the stuff of melancholy, but not when you are riding alone through the verdant mountains. So you have a sentence here, just check if it is correct grammatically, and if there is anything wrong, what should be the correction to answer this question. Try doing it, which is 22 and 23. Alienation may be the stuff of melancholy, and not when you are riding alone through the verdant mountains. Nothing wrong with this sentence. The answer is no error. It might sound a little complicated, but not every question has an error in it. So be very watchful, be very careful that if you are unable to find any error in the next 30 seconds, there is a strong possibility that the answer would be no error. So that is the option here. Let's look at 23. William Oliver, champion of the world's wild pigs, died on September 12th, age 67. Try to answer this question. Question number 23. William Oliver, champion of the world's wild pigs, died on September 12th. You say age 67. It is AGED because it's referring to a past instance. So, a champion of the world's wild pigs died on September 12th, age 67. So, you have to put this word in the past tense, and that is age versus age. So, that is how you correct the statement. Next, 24 question. Many psychiatrists use high doses of tranquilizers and antidepressants as they believe these problems have a biological basis, not a past life trauma. So 24 question on your screen. Try to answer this question. Okay. So it says many psychiatrists use high doses of tranquilizer and antidepressants as they believe these problems have a biological. Instead of basis, it should be basis, because we are referring to the singular part here. So you have to make use of basis instead of basis, because basis is plural and we are referring to just one component, that is basis. So it should be singular in its form. So that's how you correct this sentence. And then the last question type of this question type, it is I am believing in guardian angel spirits who watch over us, guiding us constantly so that our sojourn through life is happy. Now there are certain words जिसको हम ing form में use नहीं करते. So seeing, for example, these words related to your senses, seeing, watching, doing. So don't generally use ing form. So you don't say loving. Love is okay, but you don't say loving. Then similarly, you don't say hating. So there are certain words जो कि perceptions के साथ use किए जाते हैं और आप उसको ing के साथ में use नहीं कर सकते. So instead of saying I am believing in guardian angels, you simply say I believe in guardian angels. I believe in guardian angels, spirits who watch over us, guiding us constantly so that our sojourn through life is happy. So that is how you correct the sentence properly. Guys, for those of you who are watching me at this point of time, just remember one thing. You might have done a lot of rules in your classes, in your sessions, but the point is, until and unless you practice a lot of questions कि कहाँ पे किस concept को किस तरीके से use करते हैं, till then it is not very easy to figure out the answers. So as soon as you start practicing, you also should understand how do you put this rule into execution and how do you make the questions of grammar correct to your own best ability. So these are the 25 questions. Let's now move to the next set of questions, which is called sentence improvement questions. So it says in each question, a part of the sentence is underlined. 4 versions of the underlined part are provided. Select the alternative you consider both correct and effective according to the requirements of standard written English. So you have 26 questions here. Try answering this question. Alright, so it says, over the past few weeks, the Cleveland police have been in intense scrutiny regarding an alleged custodial death of a juvenile. Okay, now what is the subject of the sentence? It is police. Now understand, police in English language or English grammar is treated as plural. So you cannot say the police has arrived, you have to say the police have arrived. Now you have, so police have been under, it is not has because police को हम plural treat करते हैं, तो you cannot say has been under and you cannot say is under. You have been under, as been in, this is again wrong. So you say over the past few weeks the Cleveland police have been under intense scrutiny regarding the alleged custodial death of a juvenile. So that's how you make this sentence correct. Let's go to next one, 27. Here it is. I think you remember the opening of the IMAX theatre for which I, you and Mrs. Smith was presented. Let me know if you do have any answers. Now guys, when we did pronoun classes and we did these concepts related to pronoun, I told you 3 very important rules which is with respect to the placement of pronouns in a sentence. So if you have a positive sentence, the order of pronouns that we follow is 3 to 1. If you have a negative sentence, the order of pronoun we follow is 1 to 3. And if you have a neutral sentence, then the order of pronouns that we follow is 2, 3, 1. So out of this options, you have to choose an option where the placement of pronoun is in the order of 2, 3, 1. Now this is Mrs. Smith, third person cancelled out, you is fine. Then this is I, again cancelled out. You, Mrs. Smith and I was present. You, Mrs. Smith and I were present, and so on. So choose an answer here. Right, so you say C option, you, Mrs. Smith and I was present. Yeah, so I think you remember the opening of the IMAX theatre for which you, Mrs. Smith and I was present, that is 2 followed by 3 followed by 1. So this is the order we make use of when you are referring to a sentence that has multiple pronouns but it is neutral in its context. So neutral के context में you say 2, 3, 1, positive के context में it is 3, 2, 1 and negative के context में it is 1, 2, 3. So remember these three rules to ace these questions. So you have 2, 3, 1 coming into the picture. Let's go to the next question, 28. It says opposition parties need space to expressing its opinion on matters of importance. Opposition parties need space to express its opinion on matters of importance. Just try to figure out the answer. Alright, so if you look at what grammar principle or what grammar concept is being applied here, so you say opposition parties need space to expressing. Now you cannot make use of to with ing form that is used in the sentences here. So to is an infinitive, ing is a gerund. You cannot club both. There are some exceptions to it that is we discuss later. But as of now, you cannot say to expressing, right? And also it says wrong here because you are referring to opposition parties. So parties is plural, so we require a plural verb. Let's look at the options. It says opposition parties need space to express their opinions of matters of importance is wrong here. To express is fine, there is fine. Now to expressing is cancelled out, okay. To express their opinions on matters of importance, to express opinions. So this the pronoun is missing here of their importance, cancelled out. You simply say opposition parties need space to express their opinions on matters of importance, making C as the correct answer choice. So that's how you make it a correction there. Alright, let's move to the next question, 29. For it says, for India's economy projected to grow at a fast clip compared to 2013's, the time of the oil price relief could not have been better considering the peak in the demands for the product. Just try to figure out the answer. Yeah, so let me know if you do have any answers. So for India's economy projected to grow at a fast clip compared. For a faster, this is wrong. At a fast clip, at a faster clip, at a fast clip, because we are comparing, so we have to make use of a comparative. So it says at a faster clip compared to the 2013's and to 2013. So what will you choose and why? So you simply say at a faster clip compared to 2013 compared to the 2013s. So you need a definite article the answer would be C option, at a faster clip compared to the 2013s. Next question, question number 30. Whatever a fall in the diesel prices hits the headlines, the first to cheer are the car users because these vehicles guzzle up most petrol. So you have to figure out which of these would you use. As a fall in the diesel prices hit, whenever a fall in the diesel price hit, whenever fall in the diesel price hits. Now this is wrong, guys. It says as a fall in the diesel price, it should be hits, cancelled out, cancelled out. Whatever fall in the diesel price hits, whenever a fall in the diesel prices hits, it is D option. You say whenever a fall in the diesel prices hits the headlines, the first to cheer are the car users because these vehicles guzzle up most petrol. So this is how you make a correction here and answer the question. Alright, let's go to the next question. Question number 31. Presently, lawmakers in Japan are coming by pressure to rein the verbal abuse and outright hate speech directed at non-Japanese people who have also been subjected to other forms of harsh treatment. Try doing this question. Look at this. So, what is the correct preposition that you make use of here? Presently, lawmakers in Japan came is incorrect. Are coming, that is fine because we are talking about lawmakers here. So, are coming is wrong here. Had is wrong here. It is presently lawmakers in Japan are coming under pressure to rein in the verbal abuse and outright hate speech directed at non-Japanese people who have also been subjected to other forms of harsh treatment, making option B as the correct answer. It is just that when you do have questions, sometimes there is an overlapping of grammatical concept that is being done in a question. But if you are somebody who has done the homework and who has made it sure that you are done with the parts of speech along with their rules, I am sure you will be able to solve the questions and answer them. Chalo, let's look at 32 question. It says, each Sunday in China, 1 out of 3 family settles down to watch Real Men, a reality show that has captured the imagination and fancy of people of all ages. Now, what do you say? Every Sunday, each Sunday, every Sunday. See, one thing has to be clear, each Sunday, 3 families is wrong. Do you say each Sunday or you say every Sunday? The correct implication is every, instead of each, you say every Sunday at China, in China. China is a greater area here, so we have to make use of in rather than saying at. So, at is wrong here. So, every Sunday in China, 1 out of 3 families settles down to watch Real Men, a reality show that has captured the imagination and fancy of people of all ages. 33 question. In the cafes of Tripoli, the talk is of who is running the country, especially in the aftermath of the assassination. So, choose a correct option at the cafes in Tripoli, in the cafes Tripoli, for the cafes. Now, this is wrong, absolutely. In the cafes in Tripoli. So, at and in, the usage of at and in. The general idea is that if you are talking about a larger area, you make use of in. If you are talking about a small area, you make use of at. So, try to figure out the answer. Now, this is wrong. In the cafe, something is missing here, right? So, in the cafes in Tripoli, at the cafes in Tripoli. Now, it mentions a small area. So, the correct version would be at the cafes in Tripoli. The talk is of who is running the country, especially in the aftermath of the assassination. Next question, question number 34. When counting began, both contestants were neck and neck and the contest went down in the wire. So, it is more in terms of what preposition do you use, down to, down by, down for, down at. So, the correct usage of preposition with respect to the rules of the correct usage of preposition. So, when counting began, both contestants were neck and neck and the contest went down to the wire. Answer is A option. Went down to the wire is to become unsuccessful. So, that is how we are using it. Now, this brings us to the last question. When parents make sacrifices for children, it is a labor in love. So, you have this expression, you have to figure out which one is correct. So, do you say labor into love, labor for love, labor at love, labor of love, or you say no correction required? So, when parents make sacrifices for children, it is a labor, it is labor for love. That is the correct expression that we are using here. And this is what we are looking into the right expression in terms of answering the question. Right, so with this, we come to the end of the session, guys. So we have practiced some 35 questions of grammar. Just make it sure for those of you who are watching me right now live, you already have an idea as to how these questions are dealt with. But for those of you who are still working on your fundamentals, please solve these questions first beforehand. Like when I present you a question, please try to come up with an answer and then look for the correct answer and the explanation behind that correct answer. So for those of you who are, making it sure that you are targeting IIM-B BSc program that is soon to be held, just make sure you are familiar with these words and the concept that is used in these questions, and you are able to figure out how it is executed within the sentence, right? So this is all from my side, guys. Keep learning, keep working hard, keep working smarter, and I'm sure आपकी जो preparation है वो आपको काफ़ी help करेगी to ace the examination that you're targeting. And continue to watch these videos, because I'm sure every video that you watch gives you something to understand, something to learn, and something to make better of. So whether it is vocabulary, whether it is grammar, whether it is RCs or any other type of question type. So because you are doing it across the sections, so just make sure you watch these videos, practice along with the teachers, and you have a clarity in terms of how do you answer the question. So that was all from my side. Keep working harder, keep working smarter, and I'm sure you would do well with the examination that you're targeting. Thank you.